Hello, and welcome to Impact the Borough, a podcast from the Greensboro Chamber of Commerce. I'm Brent Christensen, the President and CEO of the Chamber. Each week, we'll highlight what we're doing to start and grow businesses, create quality jobs, and develop our workforce. We'll also check in with our community partners to share inspiring stories and important information from across our community. This podcast is brought to you by Truliant Federal Credit Union, a modern, mission-driven financial institution focused on the needs of its members, the businesses it serves, and our community. With 5 locations in Guilford County, including a dedicated commercial lending office at Friendly Center and a highly rated mobile banking app, Truliant makes it their business to help you grow yours. Visit Truliant.org for more information.
Hi, I'm Nikita Green, Vice President of Leadership, Diversity, and Inclusion at the Greensboro Chamber of Commerce. I wear a few different hats here at the Chamber, but in one, I have the definite privilege to be influenced by, to be encouraged by, and to work alongside some very successful minority-owned businesses in Accelerate Greensboro. CEOs like those in Accelerate Greensboro and those who are joining me today, they create jobs and they contribute to the economic vitality of our community. So I'm joined today by 2 of these CEOs, Larry Fairley and Antonio Wallace. And we want to take this opportunity to get to know them and their businesses better. Certainly, it's said that people do business with the people that they know. So we want to make sure that you get to know these great business owners. So, gentlemen, tell us about your companies and your catalysts for starting this company. Let's start with you, Larry.
Well, thank you, Nikita, and to the Chamber for all that you do in supporting us business owners. I founded the company in 2000, and Marketing Resource Solutions, MRS, is a full-service advertising agency specializing in the strategic planning and execution of our clients' multicultural and diversity-related marketing initiatives. We use our experience along with consumer insights to develop and deploy strategies to help our clients reach the growing multicultural consumer in a fashion that resonates with this audience. For me, the catalyst for me started when I was a young boy. I had a dream of owning my own business. And after years in corporate America, I felt that my growth had plateaued. I had worked on the business plan for MRS while I was completing my MBA, and just got to that inflection point in my career where I decided to dust it off and give this advertising agency opportunity a chance. And 20 years later, we're still standing and thriving.
That's remarkable. That and 20 years in business is a big deal.
Thank you.
What about you, Antonio?
Yes, thanks. First, thanks, Nikita, for the opportunity. And again, I very much appreciate all that the Chamber is doing to support MWBE firms in the market. GP Supply Company is a mechanical and commercial plumbing distribution company. We sell pipe, valves, fittings, and commercial fixtures. And we tend to sell to a variety of type of customers, whether it's to the subcontractor or whether it's to industrials or into state schools or private schools or the education sector, we should say. And, as far as the catalyst for starting GPS, I did it a little differently. So my strategy was a little different because of my career path. I wanted to become an entrepreneur. A lot of entrepreneurs have had early exposure or childhood dreams. But for me, I did go the corporate route. And so I was able to combine that desire as a child with what I learned as an investment banker, doing mergers and acquisitions. So I said, instead of starting a company from scratch, I learned how to value companies and how to raise capital to finance them. So I acquired one. And that's kind of worked out leveraging my background. And I acquired, Greensboro Plumbing Supply is what it was. I acquired the company in 2013. And I acquired it because it had all of the, critical components of what a good investment would make, a platform that I could build on. It had great people, a great brand already. In fact, I had customers tell me, you didn't buy a company, you bought an institution. So you have great customers who give you feedback and have been with the company for 20, 30 years, buying from the company, and great vendors, strong long-term vendor relationship. But when you put all that together, I mean, you really do, I was able to buy a platform that I felt very confident that I could grow and realize a high level of success fairly quickly.
Awesome. It's interesting that both, I'm always curious about this, but both of you had some desire to be entrepreneurs as a kid. I find that fascinating because I just wasn't on my radar at all very young, but I find that fascinating. I note, Antonio, you have an undergraduate degree from Morehouse and an MBA from Harvard. And Larry, you have an MBA from LaSalle University and a ton of executive education from Northwestern University, Kellogg School of Management, University of Virginia, Darden School, and the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth. So you both clearly value education. Can you talk a little bit about how that may have influenced your role as an entrepreneur and the founding of your companies?
Well, for me, I love learning. And I love learning in the academic setting, and then coming back and trying to implement those ideas within the business. I like academia because it provides a structured learning environment. And for me, there have been key inflection points within the life of my business where I was able to utilize those learnings to grow, expand, pivot, and adjust to a quickly changing business environment. One of the, I completed 2 executive education programs at the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth. And I studied under Dr. Lynn Greenhalgh there. And Lynn taught us the value chain analysis exercise, where you develop lay out the value chain, for your industry. And then based upon the value chain in your industry, you identify where you are on the value chain. And then it helps you then make a determination as to whether you want to do some forward integration or backward integration, to expand your service offering and as a result, grow your business. I absolutely respect what the perspective that Antonio brings to this. Just in the sense that, he came with that M&A background, that venture capital background. And I think that those things are really, really important, and particularly for minority business owners, because they can provide you access to capital, and they provide some insights that are just not readily available. So I definitely respect the perspective that he brings to this. But I love the world of academia, and I continue to use executive education programs and other academic institutions to help me continue to learn and grow, because that's the name of the game, is to continue to learn and continue to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So, Nikita, what I would add there is, for me, what I learned at Morehouse, studying business administration with a concentration in finance, and what I learned from Harvard, I would say both pretty much helped me develop a framework for solving problems now as an entrepreneur. Especially Harvard, where it's case study. And so you're just constantly looking at cases and you're sitting and you're saying, okay, this is what I would do if I was in that situation. And it was always cool. Like they would have Jack Welch would actually come in and say, okay, this is what I really did. And so if you got it right, you were like, yay. If you got it wrong, you're like, you learned something. So, but what I would say is both gave me this framework for dealing with all kinds of issues that I'm facing now. So whether it's a because the BA and the MBA, they're going to focus on the functional areas of business, right? So it's going to focus on accounting, it's going to focus on finance, marketing, it's going to focus on operations, and then technology, leadership. And as an entrepreneur, you're going to face all kinds of problems in all of those different areas. And so when I'm faced with one of those problems, I literally have a framework for how to solve that problem. Now, academics is great, but that real life experience is equally important as well. And so you really do need both, but they do complement each other very, very well. The other thing I would say about Morehouse and Harvard, you develop friendships that I think is starting to play out now. My colleagues from Morehouse and Harvard, we're starting to talk about working together and doing different things. And so there's long-standing relationships, and now we're starting to contemplate doing business together. And so and as an entrepreneur, you need a strong network. And so the Morehouse network and the Harvard network has come into play numerous occasions, not on new opportunities, but just with GP Supply Company and making GP Supply Company successful. That network, I think, has been very valuable.
That's the added bonus. You got the information, but you also got a good network to pull back on. So awesome. Well, let's stay with you, Antonio. I know your company has contributed to some big projects all over the region, including one that I'm partial to, North Carolina A&T, their $90 million engineering building. Can you tell us about some of the projects that you're particularly proud of?
Well, let me start off by saying I love North Carolina A&T as well. That the institution has been unbelievably supportive of GP Supply Company and really does an incredible job at really trying to find local MBE firms to get involved in whatever's going on their campus. Andy Perkins, definitely want to give him recognition for his advice and guidance in terms of developing that relationship with A&T. But yeah, so the student union building, but also I'm extremely proud of our role on the student union building, which came before the engineering building. Okay. And so we did both mechanical and commercial plumbing, piping systems on both of those on that project as well. Another local project, I'm very excited about it. Disappointed that COVID kind of delayed it, but Tanger Performing Arts. When you go to the restroom, you will be using toilets from GP Supply Company, the piping systems, the HVAC system piping and stuff. A lot of that stuff that GP Supply Company played a major role on that project, and I really do thank Matt Brown and Mike Perdue and those guys for what they do in terms of diversity and inclusion there. Those will be local. Some other ones that I'm proud of let's look at Raleigh Market, Duke Bed Tower Project. The reason why I named that one is because we delivered $5 million of product on that. On that particular project. That is huge for GP Supply Company. When you think about my average sales are between 15 and 20 million, but that 5 million came over 2 years. So they contribute. That was a nice contribution to, my business. But it also shows that an MBE firm can really handle a project of that complexity and that scale, and so that's what I'm really proud of. And then I would, if you want to move to Charlotte, I would say the Charlotte Convention Center with RJ Leeper, great great opportunity to develop my business in Charlotte, as well as the Charlotte Airport Expansion Project. And we're shipping on both of those projects now. So,
excellent. Thank you. How about you, Larry? I know multicultural marketing is like a specific part of your competitive advantage with marketing resource solutions. Can you talk about how you help companies in that area and what some of those projects have been that you've worked on?
Yeah, sure. we have a client roster that includes numerous major brands, likes of Denny's, BMW, the United Methodist Church on a global basis, Volvo and Mack Trucks have been clients of ours over the years. Southeastern Grocers, the parent company, Bilo, Winn-Dixie, and Harvey's, and Atrium Health. A couple of unique opportunities that we were afforded to work on. One was with the United Methodist Church, where we were the lead creative agency on a global initiative to fight malaria. This was a partnership with the United Methodist Church, the United Nations, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And we were able to do some great creative for a great cause. And so it was really gratifying to be involved in that work. Another one that comes to mind is with Denny's. About a decade ago, Denny's brought in a new CEO, and he wanted to know what the company should be doing in its philanthropic efforts to ensure it was aligned with the needs of minority communities. Denny's head of diversity reached out to us to support. They had conducted some research that indicated childhood hunger and education were the two areas where minorities felt that corporations should engage. The CEO wanted to pursue childhood hunger because he was on the board of No Kid Hungry. And we wanted to pursue education because, as you know, in minority communities, particularly the African American community, education is paramount, and we're raised to, our parents always told us, you got to get your education. So we really wanted to pursue education. We were challenged as to how to do what the CEO wanted, and of course, he was going to have the last word in this. But what we did is we developed a scholarship program called Hungry for Education. And what we did is we awarded scholarships to students for their ideas on how Denny's could fight childhood hunger in their communities. So we merged the two, and it was absolutely magical. We developed the naming, the identity, the program design and implementation. We worked with some of the nation's largest minority advocacy and civil rights organizations to bring them on board to award scholarships on behalf of Denny's to their constituents. And this program has grown well beyond philanthropy. The Hunger for Education Scholarship Program is now one of the centerpieces to the Denny's Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion program. It helps them with the outreach, as well as internally, employees can participate in the program. It has also become core to their multicultural marketing efforts. And so a decade later, we still are administering the program, and the program is growing rapidly. There will be, in the next few weeks, a major announcement about the program and how it'll be engaged in a very large media event. So those were a couple of things that we were able to do as a minority-owned advertising agency, and but we got many more successes. But those were really two fulfilling programs that I think we did great work on.
Outstanding. I don't know that people would think about that is what a marketing firm can bring to an organization like that, to a brand like Denny's. That's amazing. So would you say that, I certainly didn't want to put words in your mouth, Larry, would you say yourself that multicultural marketing, that that service, would you say that that's what makes your company unique and uniquely competitive?
Yes, no doubt about it. I mean, look, as we talk about it, the multicultural consumer is the fastest growing segment of the US population, okay? And it's critical that brands are well positioned to engage this rapidly growing consumer. It's multi-generational. You have our Gen Z cohorts, who are all about being authentic. Okay. As they say, they have a BS meter where they can detect whether brands are being authentic or not. And what we do is we support brands in aligning with these audiences. It's critical that brands are aligned with this fastest growing segment of the population with this enormous buying power. And we know how to do this. I mean, this is core to what we do. But equally as important is how we do it. What we do is we align our team, our technology, and our resources with our clients in the development of a customized service delivery model for our clients. And we start by listening, and it's amazing what you can learn by listening. And we take those clients' requirements and inputs, and we sensitize them to provide what we need to deliver upon the client's request, but not just deliver upon the client's request. The name of the game is to exceed the client's expectations. I mean, that is truly the name of the game. Okay, I know it's often used, but it is core to my thinking and the team's thinking. And so our job is to make it easy for our clients, such that our clients love working with us. And when done correctly, you become integral to the client supply chain. They come to rely on you, as opposed to you simply providing or delivering a product or service. You provide so much more, and you cultivate a deep relationship in the process. And truly, that is where the magic happens.
Awesome. Thank you, Larry. And the same for you, Antonio. I know that you work in different markets. You have an office in both Greensboro and in Charlotte. You've mentioned projects in both areas. Can you talk about what's been your competitive advantage for GP Supply?
Oh, yeah, right. And it kind of dovetails really well with what was just said in terms of when you're talking about distributing a commodity, like pipe valves and fittings, and even when you talk about just distribution, you've got to figure out a way to become value added, and there's a couple different ways to do it. One is through your people. What GP Supply, going back to why I bought the company, I mean, the people, especially on the sales team across the company, have 20, 30, and some even 40 years of experience in this business. Now, the reason why that's is important is because when you're trying to, sometimes, subcontractors, or it might be, facility maintenance teams, they need advice sometimes, or they might go down a path and they may have gaps in their own knowledge and understanding of what they're doing. And if you've got a team that can give advice or recommend alternatives and introduce new ideas, or question, in some cases, question what somebody's doing or what your customer is doing, now all of a sudden you become value added. And so that is definitely one of our competitive advantage, I would say, is our people. The other competitive advantage we have is as our inventory, our large inventory. Now, what I mean by that is a lot of larger distributors will use the just-in-time, approach, right? So they've got a distribution warehouse somewhere, and they'll go to that distribution warehouse to get it to the customer wherever they need to get it to. Well, what we figured out, and again, I'm not going to take credit for this. This was there. These guys have figured this out, and that is, let's just keep millions and millions of dollars of inventory, in any particular market that we want to serve, and let's not have to go get it from somewhere else. And so right now, what's happening is if a subcontractor or facility maintenance person needs something, 9 times out of 10, GP Supply Company has it. So we take inventory risk. That's the trade-off. You take inventory risk. And that's what a lot of the large distributors, they're trying to minimize that inventory risk, things going dead on them or what have you. We take that risk so that when our customers need it, we can get it to them.
So both competitive and a cost advantage. Awesome. Well, you guys have mentioned this, Antonio. I know you said this was a part of even your competitive advantage, but one of the key things that you all do, you are in business, yes, for yourself, but you are also employing other people. And that's really important to our economy as well, but I imagine very important to the success of your business. So I think, successful business model is about finding and keeping a really good team. And you guys talk about what you do to cultivate a culture that drives innovation, that thrives, where you can retain really good talent. Larry, you want to pick that up first?
Yeah, sure. We work hard, but we have a lot of fun. Every day we try to think of the next great idea to advance our client's business. That's our challenge. Okay, we're in the idea business. And as a result, we can never rest on our laurels. We carve out substantial meeting time every month, and what we've entitled our innovation sessions. This is where we all bring insights into the latest trends in various areas, including industry, diversity, multicultural marketing, generational, content consumption, you name it. Okay, and we go through this and learn from it, and then what we do is we take that and we develop, whether it be white papers around it or bite-sized social content around it as well, and we share this with our clients. And in doing so, you're driving ideas into your client's business as well. Additionally, it doesn't hurt for us that we get a chance to work on some very exciting activations, from doing a takeover of a cruise ship. We board a cruise ship on behalf of our client before any of the passengers get on, and we outfit and brand that cruise ship, in this case, Denny's. And so when the passengers arrive, it's a total Denny's takeover. We also developed and executed the Hunger for Education HBCU college tour back in 2019. We had anticipated doing it in 2020, but COVID-19, of course, shut that down. But nonetheless, we visited 7 HBCU campuses and did a takeover of the yard on these campuses. And so the opportunity to have team members travel from coast to coast, working in a very exciting environment, really helps in the context of keeping employees, having long tenured employees. But my focus is about developing a culture of being committed to excellence. That's the name of the game. Okay, is to be committed to excellence. And so we do some really exciting things here at Marketing Resource Solutions.
Okay, how about you, Antonio?
Sure. So first and foremost, I think culture will make or break the company, especially once you get beyond, obviously, 1 or 2 employee type firm, and so when you're talking about, when you start getting, to where there's a number of people in an organization, you've got to get that right. And I like to think, I believe we've got it right at GP Supply Company. And the way we've done that is by empowerment. That's been very, very effective in terms of empowering and encouraging people to share their ideas to make the company better, to solve problems. Right now, I will tell you, I've done this to the extent within GP Supply Company to where everybody feels like they own the company. like from the driver, to let's say the CFO, which would be the next level high person from me, they all feel like they own GP Supply Company. In fact, the way I explain it to them is your salary, your bonuses, that represents your equity interest in the business. You grow it, then that your equity portion grows along with that because you get bigger bonuses, bigger salaries. And so that has been very effective, along with recognition. I'm talking about, if those ideas turn into results, I make a big deal out of it. For example, my guys now take pride in, instead of outsourcing something, like whether it's, let's say, for example, our camera system. We've had a couple guys within the company that said, listen, we can put our own camera system in. We can tell you which is the best. We'll do the research to figure out what's the best system, and we'll install it ourselves, and which will save us money. And that's just one example, but it's just numerous ideas when it comes to operations, when it comes to sales, when it comes to accounting and finance. We're getting creative new ideas all around. And of course, all of that makes us better, which allows us to serve our customers, which allows us to serve our vendors and serve ourselves much better. So those would be the two things that I would say that we do to kind of cultivate a culture that thrives and drives innovation.
Well, and it obviously works for both of you. It seems like it's a model for success for both of you, for both of your businesses, since you're building some really good teams. I want to share with you a quote from an article. I read an article earlier this week about 20th century Black business leaders and some of their impacts on society. And so I want to share this with you. It has become increasingly clear that companies have a significant role to play in creating sustainable cities and communities and in building an equitable economy and society. And this moment in time calls for firms to engender a more compassionate form of the capitalistic economic system, one that encourages all companies to focus on community well-being as much as they do profit. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that quote, especially as it relates to your companies. Antonio, would you like to start?
Sure. Yeah, that speaks to the heart of social responsibility. And, I'll be honest with you, I'm at a point in my career where it's got to be about something more than myself. So for me, I get up every day. It's not to create any more, to make any more money for myself, or I don't need any more accolades. Because once you kind of reach a certain point of success, you realize that, okay, you've done that, you can check that off. Then there's emptiness from there. And I think the way, I've filled that void is to focus on, and I realized this was something I had to learn, that it's about helping others. Entrepreneurship is a great opportunity to spend your life devoted to helping, not only your employees and your customers and your vendors, but the communities that you serve. And when you do that, it fulfills you in a way that nothing else can kind of fulfill you. And so, I've been at it now. I'm in my 8th year actually running the company. I've owned it for 7 years, but I've come up with a pay it forward strategy, and my pay it forward strategy centers around, sponsorships, particularly sponsoring events that promote women and minority owned businesses. Internships is something that I'm extremely proud of. We've got a very robust internship program where it's tied with the governor's internship program, and where we bring kids in. But what we do kind of unique with that internship program is I've modeled it with my experience at Harvard and what I kind of did to transition into entrepreneurship by going and working in and spending time in all of the different areas of a business before I actually acquired one. So what I do with my interns is I don't allow them to come in and just sit in one area of the business. In that 8 weeks, they rotate throughout my entire company. And then they have to write a paper and they have to do a presentation to my executive management team on their understanding of the business, any ideas they have to make it better, but also, I want to kind of understand what they've been able to absorb. I'm planting that seed of entrepreneurship in these college students. So, which are a lot of them are from North Carolina A&T, Winston-Salem State, as well as UNCG. But over the last 7 years, what has happened is some of those internships have turned into mentorship. So, sometimes a kid they latch on and they want more. They're thirsty. So I've got, if I've got 7, I would say there's 2 that have just latched on where I talk to them on Sundays. They've gone on graduate. One works for Amazon out of Las Vegas. And, and I'm guiding him through his career. So it's turned into a mentorship type situation. So those are the 3 key parts of my pay it forward strategy, not only with mentorship, but I do want to mention it's not only mentorship with the kids from the internship program, but also smaller businesses, and then there's professionals who want to try to make that transition from corporate America to entrepreneurship, and they have to be coached through that process. And so that's a good mentorship opportunity for me as well. So I do a lot with mentorship on a lot of different levels, but I have found running a business more fulfilling today than I ever had when I was trying to make that first million, when I was trying to, reach those early goals. It's way more fulfilling to see a kid who knows nothing about distribution, but by the end of 8 weeks, send you a paper to deliver a presentation where they've got the big picture of how our distribution firm works. And then they want to keep in touch with you and develop a relationship, and they're thirsty for knowledge. There's no amount of money in the world, I'm telling you, that replaces that type of feeling. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Antonio. Larry, what do you think? What are your thoughts about that?
Do me a favor, repeat the question again.
Okay. You want to hear the quote?
Yeah.
It has become increasingly clear that companies have a significant role in, It has become increasingly clear that companies have a significant role to play in creating sustainable cities and communities and in building an equitable economy and society. And this moment in time calls for firms to engender a more compassionate form of the capitalistic economic system, one that encourages all companies to focus on community well-being as much as they do profit.
Yeah, this is actually, we've been doing some research in this area on behalf of one of our clients, and this has been a continuum in the sense that if you'd gone back, 20 years ago, it was always about shareholder value. Okay, that kind of broadened out to be a little bit more about stakeholder value, and always the notion of being a good corporate citizen. There is clearly a trend that's taking place in the business community, led by some of the top names in finance, the Jamie Dimons, the Larry Finks of BlackRock. Okay, who feel that the corporate responsibility needs to go to a higher level. Larry is big on ESG, environmental, social, and governance. And Jamie Dimon, as CEO, made some remarks recently around the notion of helping poor communities and not being selfish as corporations and major brands. For me, I look at this as there's an element of common sense in it, because as the diversity of this country continues to change and evolve with minorities population growing at a rapid rate, corporations have to make sure that they're engaged in these communities, okay? Because these are going to become their pool of talent. Additionally, when you engage these, when you engage communities and cities, all right, and particularly I focus more on the poor and those who are left out and disenfranchised. What you're doing by engaging them and making sure that those communities are productive is that you are doing several things. One, you're helping your own brand because now you've got a segment of the population that can purchase your product and or services. Two, you're also helping increase the tax base. Folks with jobs pay taxes. And so this has the effect that it helps reduce the need for social programs. So when you reduce the need for social programs, then as a corporation, it can create an environment where they may not need to raise your taxes or even individual taxes. So for me, this thing makes sense, okay? And I'm glad to see major CEOs step up and provide the leadership in this area. At a personal level and business level, I serve on the board of directors of the Carolinas, Virginia Minority Supplier Development Council. And in that capacity, I have a responsibility to help mentor other minority businesses. And over the course of my time, I've mentored dozens of minority businesses. And particularly for those who have never worked in corporate America, and helping them understand how to navigate, corporate America, helping them understand the business development process that you're going to endure in calling on major brands. And so I spent a lot of time in mentoring minority businesses. I like Antonio. I sponsor many things, internship program as well. And additionally, that context of giving back, no matter who you are or how big your firm is, you can make an impact in your community. I found it challenging because at some point, because I travel a lot. Well, I did before COVID, and so I found it challenging. And so I tried to hold myself to a higher, level of responsibility and say, hey, Larry, a lot of people gave to you along the way. A lot of people invested in you along the way. I know you're busy, but you got to find a way to get back. And so I joined Habitat for Humanity and ultimately became the board chair for Habitat for Humanity for High Point, Jamestown, and Archdale. And in that capacity, it allowed me to support individual families, and realizing their dream of home ownership. And as well as we get on site and we help build these homes. This is important work for me. I can't do enough. I need to do a lot more because, and I say that because of the investments that were made into me. And so this is an area that I feel strongly about, from a major corporation perspective and from a personal perspective as well.
One thing I would add about corporate responsibility, social responsibility, is when it focuses on entrepreneurship. What I would, I definitely think it's critical that large and local businesses focus on reaching out to the communities they serve. But for me, I'm very passionate when they reach out very specifically and try to plant seeds of entrepreneurship, because at the end of the day, home ownership, yes, that is, that is one way to, that's really important. But entrepreneurship is the path to wealth creation, to generational wealth in this country. And I think if you really want to have the greatest impact on those communities, because I came from a low income community. And so, and I saw the local corporations reaching out, and the local corporations and small businesses. And that's precisely what planted the seed in me. And that's why I'm in a position now where I can leave a significant amount of wealth to the next generation. And that's why I'm doing so much that I can to plant that seed in as many kids as I can, because I think that's what's going to move the needle here when it comes to those communities. You get enough kids growing up to become entrepreneurs and creating wealth, and then they'd have a desire to give to those communities. And then I think eventually, enough people from those communities will have that, large shift and change that you want. And I think that moves the needle. So I'm all up. I mean, I really support this, and I just really want to do more to encourage them to focus on entrepreneurship specifically.
It's extremely encouraging to hear too. And I mean, you both are obviously very passionate about the community, but when you think about, you are two business owners. When you think about the ripple effect, the potential ripple effect that could happen if other business owners like you would take that same interest and that same investment and put it in the community, because as you said too, Larry, that benefits us all. At a global level, it really benefits us all. So thank you for sharing your thoughts on that. One other thing, I'm curious to know what is next for you all. Between the two of you have over 27 years of experience in business. Some people haven't done 2 years in business. A lot of people would love that success. What is next for you with your company or for you individually? Larry, you want to start with that?
Yeah, for me, being candid, there's a level of succession planning, okay, that I am undertaking, okay. I'm not going to be stepping away, within the next couple of years or anything like that. But succession planning, is important, and you have to get it on the way. And so that's what I'm involved in, is developing the succession plan for the company, and that's a little more longer term. In the short term, right now what I'm focused on is managing rapid growth. We're growing rapidly, okay, and rapid growth never happens in an organized fashion, okay, and so there's a certain level, of chaos that'll be taking place during this period of time. And and you have to try to get in and make sure that your processes can support the growth. We're in the midst of bringing on additional team members, okay, so focused on just managing rapid growth. And then part of that rapid growth is premised around expanding our service offering. We want to provide services in the area of PR and corporate communications. And so, as I stated earlier in that value chain exercise, that's what we're looking to move next along the value chain. And so those are a few of the things that we're working on, and what's next for me.
Thank you, Larry.
So for me, what's next, my mind has been on developing a platform to replicate my success. So that would be what I probably spend most of my time thinking about. How do I help others to, with a similar background or similar interests as myself, kind of do what it is that I've done? And I've actually put it in like a model. I've kind of graphically, put this in a model. And so I would like to go into corporate America, where there's lots of talent, where people are just either being passed over, overlooked, women and minorities, being passed over, overlooked, burnt out, run into the ground, and not properly utilized. And they have they have great leadership abilities and would thrive in terms of running and growing their own company. And so, but that's a scary jump for a lot of people. And there are models out there. One such model is called the search fund model. And so what I would love to do is build a platform where I identify these individuals, leverage the search fund model to help them to transition, into entrepreneurship. Because again, I believe, that's where wealth, the power of wealth creation is important. That's one part of it is really putting these individuals on that path of wealth creation. But at this point in my life, I realize that there's so much more than helping someone get on that path of wealth creation. When it comes to character in business, when it comes to overall wellness, the platform that I want to develop, I want to focus on, wellness, mind, body, and soul, overall health, not just, making a bunch of money. What are you doing to take care of yourself physically? What are you doing and mentally and spiritually? Education, there may be some gaps in terms of education. So, getting them, helping them to fill those gaps educationally. But, and so in entrepreneurship, I just think the platform will be all about entrepreneurship, but I just think that there's so much more to it. And I actually have a company already developed. It actually is the company that owns GP Supply Company. So I actually started GP Supply Company with the mind that if I was successful, I would want to replicate it. So I've already set up the platform. It's already legally set up. So for me, the next thing to do is really to raise the capital, because it will take, a significant amount of capital to raise to fund those search funds. So at the right time, I will raise capital for that platform and begin to execute on this strategy of replicating the success.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Larry and Antonio, for that. It's exciting to hear kind of what your next steps are, given that you all are, as I said, already pretty successful. You happen to be minority business owners, right? But at the end of the day, you're just successful business owners. I would, however, love to hear from you one thing that you think it's important for people to know about minority businesses. Certainly that could be its own podcast. We can talk about that quite a bit, but one thing that you think is important for people to know about minority business owners or minority owned businesses. Larry, what about you?
The one thing I want people to know is that minority owned businesses are just as capable, as any other group of businesses. In business, it's a continuum. You've got small, medium, large businesses. You have some businesses that perform well and some don't. That's not premised around one's race or ethnicity. And so I say that to say that though you're a minority-owned business, what I'd like for our corporate partners to understand is that we're just as capable, just as talented to be able to deliver great value, within your supply chain, as any other business. That's the name of the game, and as long as you engage minority businesses who are committed to excellence, who have core competencies that indeed can deliver a competitive advantage, then a minority-owned business can bring about a level of innovation and help you meet your business goals and objectives as equally as anyone else.
And I guess what I would add to is that I would want others to know that it's an opportunity to bring a unique perspective, because minority business enterprises have so many different challenges, and minority business owners are used to having to be extremely creative to solve all of those different problems. Well, that in itself becomes a skill set. And so, take advantage of that skill set, and so when you bring a minority business enterprise into the fold, you're going to get a unique perspective, a unique skill set, and don't miss out on that opportunity. It's an opportunity that will serve you well.
Well stated.
Very well said. Well, thank you both for taking the time out of what must be very busy schedules to talk with us, help us get to know GP Supply, Market Resource Solutions. It's been a pleasure talking to you both.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Nikita.
This podcast is brought to you by Truliant Federal Credit Union, a modern, mission-driven financial institution focused on the needs of its members, the businesses it serves, and our community. With 5 locations in Guilford County, including a dedicated commercial lending office at Friendly Center and a highly rated mobile banking app, Truliant makes it their business to help you grow yours. Visit Truliant.org for more information. You can find all of our episodes on YouTube thanks to our video sponsor, North State. Make sure to subscribe so you'll get new episodes delivered to your device each week. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook @GSO Chamber. See you next time.